My name is Emmanuel Ramos Moreno, and I'm going to talk about water pollution due to plastic. Climate change is one of the current problems in which most of the scientist community has set to work in part to develop new technologies and ways to combat. How to mitigate the problems caused by this? So today we're going to talk to climate change expert Alfredo Morales and Melanie Garza.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello, greetings. One of the best known consequences of climate change is that sea levels are rising. This has been doing so since the 20th century, and the prediction is that by 2100 it will be rise around half a meter, which is like 1.640 feet.
Any question?
Yes, here. I have one question. How can I know if this is an exaggeration of some scientifics and this is truth?
Well, they are probably estimates made in computer simulation about the increase from 1 to 2.5 degrees Celsius, and this is due to two reasons. A part of the rise is due to thermal expansions of the water. As the planet warms, the water of the ocean expands, delays resulting in a climb. The other part comes from the returns of water that was previously frozen. Go back to the sea and increase your amount.
It is true. This increase in amount of water has happened due to the melting of the North Pole. The ice we care about is ice of the continent, the ice perch, which is not splashing seaward like Greenland. The same can be said of glaciers all over the world. All of them contribute to sea level rise when meeting.
So, can the problem be avoiding uh, if we stop producing carbon dioxide?
Well, avoiding the problem, once we stop emitting carbon dioxide, the thing is not just going to stay there. Surely we will have to continue working until we return the Earth's temperature to its original value or mitigate the damage as we can.
We still have to talk about climate change, but the biggest problem of this decade in relation to sea level rise is plastic pollution, a problem that we have to face as a civilization. According to a recent study by the Polytechnic University of Valencia, the top five most common waste of the coast worldwide are cigarettes, plastic wrappers, straws, and plastic agitators, plastic cutlery, and plastic bottles.
Of course, if we look what this garbage is made of plastic, is the main source. This will not have to be messy. We don't live in the age of plastic on a whim. We produce it en masse for how incredibly useful it is. There are engineers in huge plastic production plants producing reactors that are running 24 hours a day. We know the plastic is vital in our daily lives. The science community knows them as synthetic polymers. As a chemical engineer, I know they're terrible versatile substance. For made with the right chemicals, we have an opaque and hard material, so as PVC pipes. If we combine it with ours, we will have a transparent, malleable one like the pad of the water bottles. In any case, the result is very resistant material, and this has a big disadvantage. Its decomposition is just as resistant.
On a certain sense, in creating such a mind blowing material, we also have created a great responsibility to manage it. We give it another use or turn into something Modern Nature can handle. And I have to say that in this task we are doing very wrong, because, for example, an analysis concluded that in 2013 72% of the world's plastic either ended up accumulated in landfills or left unchecked in nature. And in there's 14% were incinerated, which like fatal climate change, and the other 14% were recycled. But not everything was done properly. It was estimated that 4% were lost in the process, so 8% become like plastic, but of worse category, and only 2% were recycled correctly. Just 100.
If the plastic is so resistant, what's the matter with the air being a few bags floating around? They're not poison, but they can hurt anyone.
If leaving aside all causes of animals that die from plastic ingestion, or incidents in which large amounts of plastic bags have blocked the drainage of some cities, contributing to flooding. Even forgetting that the breakdown of plastic simulates the activity of some microorganisms. There are more risky consequences because today we know that there is plastic in our bodies from garbage that we poop.
This is partly because degradation is impossible by natural process on the earth. Nor can bacteria degrade it, but they stay to live inside this microplastic, forming colonies of bacteria that we consume today in our water and food. This is because the sun contributes a lot to its degradation. The effect of bombardment with ultraviolet rays combined with the force of the spill manages to fragment the plastic into smaller bits with just as resistant microplastic. The plastic then goes from normal size to small piece called the thickness of a hair.
And because microplastics are so small, it's no wonder that ocean food chains have been absorbing them for years. Even if they've already jumped into our world on the surface, in fact, they have already have been detected in both common salt, tap water, or bottling. The microplastics are one or messes and most likely inside us. Now, how harmful this is something that is still being studied. The main concern is that some plastics, such as the styrofoam of burger containers, have their properties thanks to compounds such as styrene or benzene, which within our body can be problematic since they are mutagenic and they can cause cancer.
Literally just know about the exact impacts of our health. But the danger of microplastic does not end here. Large columns of microplastics can be detected in the Mediterranean, mainly single calyx, such as diatoms. Since microplastics can move around the ocean so easily, it is worrying that these microorganisms can travel with them long distance, reaching marine ecosystems that are not well adapted to them. And we're not just talking about microbes. Large space also carry flora and fauna. In fact, these ocean plastics are already starting to be considered dispersal vectors, whose mosquitoes are vectors of malaria.